So here we are. Welcome to the Sans Tokyo Winter 2025 Community Night. Tonight I will talk about no pain, no gain, the artificial intelligence in the open source intelligence cycle. Okay. Thank you for attending in person and thank you for the people attending online. We really appreciate your effort, considering it's also 6:30, or thank you if you're joining from Europe or from United States. Thank you so much for joining this community night. Okay, so the agenda of this hour of speech, it's related to intelligence and open source. We will define the importance of intelligence and open source intelligence and what they are. We will focus on the common pain. We will see why sometimes it's a pain to decide if the organization, the authority, the law enforcement can or cannot use artificial intelligence. Then we will talk on the positive side. So we explore the negative side or the potential dubs that we have. And then we will talk about what's the gain. What can I gain if I use artificial intelligence, focusing on generative AI inside the OSINT Intelligence Cycle? And we will see. Okay. Just one slide about myself. I am a SANS certified instructor candidate for the SEC 497 class. It's the practical open source intelligence class. It's one of the classes of OSINT that SANS provide. Outside of SANS, I basically work for a big corporation, an Australian corporation named Nuix, where I do pre-sales and I support the sales and the product team. I'm based in EMEA, but I'm also support APAC, the APAC region. I'm also a CEO and founder of a company in which I basically do training for law enforcement and for SANS. I'm a certified trainer for some European entities. Basically, I teach and I train judges and public prosecutor via the European Juridical Training Network. I do the same for law enforcement officers via the European Union Agency for Law Enforcement Training, CIPOL, and I'm also do the same thing on basically a school established by the Ministry of Interior in Italy. Okay, what I normally teach is digital forensics, OSINT, social network analysis, and intellectual property defense. Okay, I have a couple of GIAC certification via SANS. I have the GFAA, the GCFE, and the GOSI, related to the classes that I took in the past. I also have some other international certification, including lead auditor and implementer for the ISO IEC 27001. Okay, now let's focus about intelligence and OSINT. When we talk about intelligence, we talk about different type of intelligence. We can divide the different type of intelligence in different categories. Okay, we have human intelligence, human, the one that we do when we investigating on somebody and we ask and we meet somebody in person, or we establish a connection online via a soft puppet account, via a fake persona, and we try to gain some intelligence. We have communication intelligence, comment, the one related to communication. We have signal intelligence. We are delving into a more military type of terminology. We have the MESINT, measurement and signature intelligence. We have technical intelligence. We have financial intelligence. We have geospatial intelligence. We have imagery intelligence or photo intelligence. And finally, we have open source intelligence. Okay, sometimes these categories of intelligence are like mushroom after a day of rain. They pop up. So every day we have a new category of intelligence, okay? Now, if we want to understand the relationship between data, information, and intelligence, and how a raw data became intelligence, we can use an amazing publication of the NATO. Okay, this is a publication of 2012 still extremely valid and a foundation for many type of intelligence, that basically distinguish by everything that you can collect inside an operational environment. Then you go through a collection process, it became data, that goes through a processing and exploitation step, it became information. After the information going into analysis and production, it became intelligence. There is different steps that I need to complete in order to make raw data that I find in the operational environment and making it to intelligence. Okay, so the raw data is defined in this publication as open source data, OSD. The process information became open source information, then after is analyzed became open source intelligence, the one that we use in different fields. If we are looking at intelligence agency or military, we will focus on validated OSINT, meaning the intelligence that has been validated by at least 3 independent sources, not just online, but also in person. Okay? What is OSINT? Well, there are multiple definitions. For sure, we can say that open source, this side of the open source intelligence, refers to any type of information that is publicly, freely available, not just related to open source tool. So it means that this data, it doesn't come from open source tool, but it comes from open source or like freely available resources. I go to Google, I do a Google search, I found the data, yes, that's publicly available. Now, the first differentiation is that when we're talking about OSINT, we are referring to a type of intelligence that is accessible to everybody, not just to law enforcement, not just to, let's say, intelligence agency, not from a restricted database. There might be sub-differentiation in the way that aside of this data being publicly available, the data might be not just in the open web, but could be in the deep web. The deep web is everything that cannot be indexed by search engine. So by default, everything that could be in social media or everything that could be behind an authentication wall or everything that could be behind a paid wall. Chamber of Commerce. There could be open data that you can only access if you pay, okay? Or some specific report about persona. But everybody that has a small amount of money will be able to get that specific data. Now, the type of information that we can find could be audio, could be video, could be pictures, could be map, could be everything that we might find in these freely available sources. As I said, we have new categories of intelligence, so we will focus only on data coming from social media. We can call them or differentiate that as SOCMINT, a part of social media intelligence as a part or as a branch of OSINT. Okay. Now we can use OSINT in many let's say situations, from organizations that do competitive intelligence, recruiters, government, law enforcement, privacy investigators, but also the bad actors, stalker, cyberbullying, organized crime, terrorists, okay, can use OSINT to understand what's the surface of attack of a specific location, okay? Then we can use OSINT for human resources, or better, a good HR department or a people and cultural department, before to hire new candidates, should validate if the data provided in the curriculum vitae it's real or not. Okay, if I'm doing a marketing and economic analysis, okay, an outlook about something, I should do my OSINT, I should do my job. Okay, if I do a competitive intelligence about another company to trying to map how that competitor is doing that supply chain, I should do OSINT to map this activity. Due diligence, data enrichment, I start from a digital forensic environment, okay? A mobile phone, I extract a selector, A telephone number that in that specific mobile phone doesn't mean anything because it's just a chat to somebody else, but I don't have his name, his detail. Then I put a telephone number and I use any OSINT technique, and then I go back a Facebook account correlated. That's intelligence, because putting the name of that person inside the forensic container, it changed completely the value of the information itself. Okay? OSINT cycle. We talk about that in the class. On the day one, there are multiple variations of this OSINT cycle. Could be 4 or 5 steps. This is the 4th step. This is the 5th step, the one that I'm going to talk about today. We have the planning and the direction. We define the objective, the rule of engagement, what we can do. Then we collect the data automatically, manually, semi-automatic way. Then we process and exploit the information, all the information that we found from publicly available sources. Then we do the analysis and the production, and finally we disseminate, we provide the report to whom? To the stakeholders that we identifying in the planning and the direction. Ideally, this is a cycle. Okay, what does it mean? That in each phase we might have feedback, or we might find additional information that lets us do 1 or 2 or 3 steps back and say, hey, wait a minute, I found some more information. Let me validate that, okay? Or just simply when you provide the report, you should ask your stakeholder, that could be your chief in command, your manager, or your customer, what do you think about it? Does it satisfy your need? Would you have me doing something different? This is really important for a continuous learning, okay? And that was, let's say, an introduction to intelligence and open source intelligence. Let's focus on something really nice, the common pain of using artificial intelligence, okay? Regulation. EU, what do we say? They said that US innovates, China replicate, and EU basically regulate. We are really strong in the European Union in regulating everything, okay? However, what does it mean? It means that this is a potential big problem. We have something in Australia, we have something in the US. I'm pretty sure that in Japan there should be regulation, or there are discussions about how to regulate the use of the AI. Can I use AI to do mass surveillance? I don't know. Can law enforcement use AI? It depends. What type of what flavor of AI they can use? Okay, so there is a legal framework that is the step number 1. After we understand the legal frameworks and what we can do, and by the way, you know, the tech CEO fight like teenager, okay? Look at here. This is something that happened this summer, in which basically Grog asked, based on the data, it seemed that there was a fight between Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, and Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, and also Grok. And Grok, the AI of X, say, hey, Sam Altman, it's right. Musk antitrust claim is undetermined by apps like DeepSeek and Perplexity. The thing was that Elon Musk was complaining that Apple was putting in the App Store OpenAI as first in the rank, and Grok not first in the rank. And Apple say, this is not our fault. Our consumer are preferring OpenAI rather than Grok. So this is just an algorithm, okay? And you say, no, it's not true. So Sam Altman pushed it over there, and that was the response, okay? And then Elon Musk continued the fight, and as you can see, ChatGPT immediately say, oh, you're a good bot, you go against your owner, okay? And then immediately Elon Musk say, hey, okay, what if I ask to a different question to ChatGPT? What's happening? I mean, these people that control a lot of information, they really fight like teenagers, okay? What? And these are the people that have all the power, okay? That's crazy. Now, if we talk about the real complexity and the real pain in selecting an AI, so we saw legal framework, a level of trust using AI model, because you know what happened in Ukraine via SpaceX. One day, the owner of SpaceX decided, oh, dear Ukraine, from tomorrow on, I'm not supporting you anymore. Bye-bye. Imagine if you do a multi-million-dollar investment in an AI, And then some of your politicians say or fine this company or this person and say, I'm not happy with you anymore. I break the contract and I don't let you use my AI because it's mine. Can you trust something like that in an organization, in a government? It's really scary. So after we understand also this other problematic, we focus on which is the best model that you can use. It depends. It depends on my need. It's best if it's a private one or if it's open source. I don't know which software should I use to run the inference and basically enable people to chat with that specific LLM, large language model. It's basically something like LM Studio, something like Kolama. No, I need to go the LLM because LLM is very good in multi-prompt. Or no, maybe I need to have something like anything LLM so I can do also the RAG together and I want to simplify my life. What about Python? Is good Python for production? It depends. It depends by the number of concurrent users, the model, a lot of complication, a lot of headaches, right? And what about which model should I use? Or an X or a goof model? How many billion of parameters? What's the context window? Okay, and what's the hardware? It's on-prem? Well, if it's on-prem, do I have a GPU? And this is now going, I mean, the GPU that you should use is NVIDIA, because AMD doesn't support the same quality, speed, and other feature like NVIDIA. But how much memory? We will talk about how much video memory you need. And what about the NPU that now are in the laptop? Are they good enough? Which type of data can I push over there? No. I don't want to invest any money in hosting myself, my infrastructure. I go on the cloud. Okay. Do you know the cost per API call? Can you share confidential data inside a third-party company that is not even in Japan, that most likely is in the United States? And if the US government needs the data, they will get the data even if you are using an enterprise level subscription. I don't know. It depends. Many corporations, many investigation companies said yes. Somebody else said, no way that I'm going to share confidential data about my customers with somebody else in which it's a black box, because when you go on the cloud, you lose control of your data. That's the reality, okay? So this is a simple animation about what happened with the number of parameters. We move from 5 million parameters to 400 billion, for 8 million parameters to 500 billion parameters, adding more capabilities to the AI, okay? This is just a simple video on LM leaderboard. This is a comparison between basically, one second, that the video doesn't start. That's a comparison between different type of models. Looking at that, looking how many models I can find, open source and commercial. I already have an headache, to be honest. I'm more confused than when I started the speech, okay? That's really complex. This is just a list of what happened in October 2025, okay? Look at here. Look how many models has been released. That's crazy. Imagine if you subscribe 1 year with a cloud provider, you cannot break the contract, and after 2 months, you see that there are already 10 different models that are better in performance and they can run on-prem. You need to explain that to the public organization, to your manager. Why did I do this choice? So what happened in the last month? Okay, in the last month we got GPT 5.1 with instant and thinking modes from OpenAI. Oh, pretty cool. Then we got GPT 5.1 Code Max released just for coding. Oh, cool. Then we got Gemini 3 Pro from Google and also DeepThink. Then we got Grok 4.1 from X. Then we got Claude Opus because Anthropic responded. I mean, who am I if I'm not responding with a better model? My competitor are doing something like that. I need to do the same. And what about this? Nano Banana. Because if you never use Nano Banana from Google, you are nobody in video and image manipulation. This is a simple comparison between Flux 2, Qwen Image, and Gemini 3, and these are the different prompts. Really good quality. Don't worry, you will have a copy, a PDF copy of the slide in which you can see everything, including the references, okay? And just to mention that I finished this presentation on the 4th of December. What happened after the 4th of December to now is that Mistral, a French company, released Mistral 3 with multiple model. And then DeepSeek, the Chinese DeepSeek, say, wait a minute, I have this DeepSeek 3.2. Really, it's impossible to be updated in relation to new models. But having a fixed infrastructure that doesn't allow you flexibility now is not an advantage. Now it's a big problem because you're not flexible to understand what's your need. And potentially at the beginning, you didn't intercept the need of your organization. And then you don't have that flexibility in changing. Let's talk about performances and how much video RAM do I need? Okay, I work for the government. There is no way that my data is going on the cloud. No way. I trust you. That's what I do. Okay, I don't trust anybody. Okay. However, if I'm looking at this LLM inference calculator, if I want to use GPT-OS 120 billion parameters, that's the open source model of ChatGPT released this, I think it was around September, it needs basically 63 gigabyte of video memory just to run one simple batch of file with a small context window, 1,000 character. 1,000 characters is barely an email, with only one user. I mean, that's not really practical in production, okay? Not to mention that there doesn't exist a GPU for desktop with 62 gigabyte of memory. The one for desktop are 32. Then after that, you start to move to 48 or 60 or 96, and you're moving to AI capabilities. You're moving from 2,000 to 10,000 per GPU, per video card, okay? I'm not going to tell you that if I'm playing with this number and I'm making a bigger sequence length or I'm adding more concurrent users, the numbers go crazy over here. What about Llama Maverick? Llama for Maverick, the best open source model provided by Meta. We still are waiting a response from Meta of the last 3 months of activity, okay? We don't know what Meta is working on, okay? Well, again, with the NVIDIA RTX 5090, 2,000 euro, the most performance, the biggest, the fastest GPU available for desktop application, not workstation application, the model doesn't fit. And again, with a small sequence length, aka the context window, one user, I need 250 gigabyte of video memory. Of course, I can also employ multiple GPU in parallel using a software that can distribute the video memory. But here, I'm talking about a data center type of GPU. I'm talking about 100,000 euro of investment. Do you have that money? Do you have a rack or a place in which you can put something like that with controlled temperature? If you don't, maybe you should use a less smarter model, less parameters. Please bear in mind that the direction right now is not to go with bigger models, is actually to go with smaller model, and this is the direction that Apple suggested. Rather than having models that we're not able to manage, let's have small model like agentic AI dedicated, they are really good in doing that task. So when the AI understand that I'm asking a transcription, I go to a model. If they're asking for a translation, they go to another model. Small model, flexible, that can run fully on device, fully on-prem. Okay. What about if identifying something on Hugging Face, that's a big repository of models. What if I find a good model and that basically has not been yet quantized with this LLM inference, and I want to see how much memory do I need for this model? Well, I can change the context size, the quantization, and here it is. This is the amount of memory I might need. Okay, not to mention energy. Okay, if you want to be environmental supporting, yeah, how much does it cost to run dumb prompt? A lot. Okay, every time Sam Altman said that every time we say please to ChatGPT, even if when Skynet and Terminator will arrive, they will remember about us that we were really polite with AI. What's going to happen is that we are burning one bottle of water just to say please and thank you. That's crazy. Imagine how much that will cost in energy if you're running on your infrastructure. Now, prompt engineering, okay? This is done, this is a scheme provided by the co-founder of OpenAI, Greg Brockman, okay? So O01, it's a little bit outdated, but it still works, okay? So the idea is that you should have a goal in what you really want. Then you should have a return format. Listen, this is what I want, and this is how I want it. Then there should be some warning. Hey, don't go in this direction. I don't want that you spend time in this direction. And at the end, there should be a context dump. You give example, you provide some unstructured way of thinking, and then the prompt provide you a response. Now, my question is, how many of you that are using AI create prompt in this way? How many of you have been trained in prompt engineering? One person? I don't see any online. How many people have been trained in context prompt engineering? Well, lucky that somebody was trained in prompt engineering. You see, we're using something without knowing how it works. The main message of AI, garbage in, garbage out. Okay? That's something that wrong prompt, wrong response. Okay? We can even ask AI based on what we want to craft a good prompt, and then we use that prompt to get a better response. Now, what happened is that after DeepSeek, that by the way, Chinese did a really good job, okay? Because with the fact that Donald Trump and US put sanction of them on GPU and AI, they change the rules and they say, okay, you want to do that? How can I fight against OpenAI? How can I fight against Anthropic? How can I fight against Google, Alibaba, ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, say, you know what? We have the data set. We can get the data set. We will train the models and we will make the models open source. Now we have Qwen, we have DeepSeek, we have a GMT that can run fully on-prem, and they are impressive. 2 years ago, it was not possible to have this code review, code vibing, responses on complex queries, even providing different inputs in this quality. And this is just the result of what the US did, was blocking AI development. China responded, provide open source model. It's basically now directing the market, because more people say, why should I pay OpenAI or Anthropic to go on the cloud on data that I don't know what they do, when I can find something that I can run on-prem and it works as good as it is, okay? Not always, but it does. DeepSeek OCR, a model that has been released couple of 1 month ago, is now the standard of OCR. Okay, small model. Okay, now with GPT-5, it changed the anatomy of the prompt, because now model also needs to think. So we need to provide the instruction on how they should think. We don't want to give freedom to the AI. We want to decide what AI should work with, okay? So we get the role as before. Then we have the task, okay, what they should do. Then we have the context, how they should act. Then we add the reasoning. This is the way you should think. I don't want that you think freely. Think in this way, because your way of thinking might be different from my way of thinking, and I want that you think as I think. Then I can get an output format that is a little bit more complex than before. Last but not least, I get the stop condition and say, hey, when you see this, just stop it. Okay? It's evolving, the crafting of a prompt. I'm pretty sure that if you were not doing prompt in the other way, you're not doing prompting in this way. Okay? And it's extremely complicated, crafting a prompt in this specific way. Now, the pain is not over, but before to move, let's start to differentiate the different type of AI, okay? Let's differentiate between what is cognitive versus what is generative, because everybody thinks that artificial intelligence is only Terminator, Skynet, generative AI that take control of us. That's not true. We have AI since the 70s, and we are using AI even before ChatGPT in our mobile phone, and we feel safe. Because when we open our photo application and we have been reminded of a memory that happened on that day with the best picture, we create memory for us, that's pretty cool. You know why it's cool? Because it's running on-prem on your device without sharing the data, and the result is better than what you will do spending time. When you search information on your phone, you search a type of a car, and you have a car on your phone, that's pretty cool. And it's safe. Now we don't feel safe when there is something that you give an input and it starts creativity, it starts to generate something, okay? So if we think about a brain, the brain of AI, like left brain and right brain, in the left brain we can put everything that is cognitive AI, everything that is fact-based, that is analytical and deterministic. Same input, same output, okay? What's the catch of using this type of artificial intelligence like machine learning, natural language processing, retrieval augmented generation, and so on? The problem is that, I have it, here it is. The challenge is that it requires human validation, human training. It does not generate anything, okay? It gives you a score, best case scenario. It doesn't generate. Is that enough? It depends, okay? On the other side, the right side, you have the generative AI. Oh, cool. Creative, stochastic, not deterministic, sexy, okay? I give a prompt, it writes a story for me. Oh, I give a couple of information and does the research for me. I'm not going to talk how it does stuff, okay? Because thank God it does stuff not really good, especially if you give a lot of creativity. However, it's really powerful, because if I have a chain of email, a thread of email, if I have specific things that we will see in the next section of the presentation, you will see the power of generative AI, okay? However, what's the problem? It's hallucinating, it's making things up. I already told the story to my students, sorry if I repeat it, but when Google presented Bard, I'm talking Google, sometimes the #1 company in the world, presented Bard as the father of Gemini type of model. Somebody searched on Bard, how do Italians make the mozzarella stick on the pizza? And somebody on Reddit wrote via glue. And then the response of the generative AI was Italians put glue on the mozzarella so it stay attached to the pizza. I'm Italian and we don't do that, okay? Just to clarify that, okay? So the training data set was terrible. The response was terrible, okay? Samsung case, Korea, some Samsung research and development engineer put sensitive information in ChatGPT, and that ChatGPT at the time indexed the data. Somebody else asked, hey, ChatGPT, how Samsung would develop this new phone? And ChatGPT provided the response based on the new data that was provided as an input from the Samsung engineer. This is a leak of confidential data. This is a leak of information. Imagine if you are law enforcement or if you are an intelligence agency and that the AI is leaking your strategy of analyzing communication in North Korea. That could be a huge problem, okay? Plus privacy security concern and not a clear cost structure. The cost seems small because it's a small call per API, but then at the end of the month you have heavily cost to maintain, okay? Now, one problem that will affect on us if we are digital forensics practitioner, not just OSINT practitioner, will be that generative AI tend not to be deterministic. Because so what does it mean? It means if I give the same input with the same prompt, I might have a slightly different response. How's that possible? Is that possible? There is a research over here, but basically the mixture of experts, the MOA of this model are getting data, are allocating the model on different part of the video memory, and the part of the video memory that don't respond in the same way, and therefore you might have a different response. What does it mean for me if I am a digital forensics expert? Let's talk about it. If I'm a digital forensics expert, generative AI provide me different responses. I already don't like it. Different responses bring no determinism. That's the problem. No determinism brings no repeatability. If the process is not well documented, no repeatability in forensics might be potentially problematic. We see many no repeatability situations. Acquisition of a mobile phone, okay? However, we have forensic tools that try to keep it as more forensically as we do. If we deploy a bomb like generative AI, what's happening is that no repeatability means not forensically sound. What does it mean? It means I can ask to AI, is Dario guilty? And one day can be yes, another day can be it depends, or can be no. That's not something that I want. I'm not suggesting not to use generative AI. I'm saying if we use generative AI, we need to know what we are doing. And we need to try to automatize and standardize the way we use generative AI in our organization. Same prompt for the same question. We should provide everybody the flexibility of creating prompt, especially if we are not being trained, because then we will have responses that are misleading, okay? Now, let's talk about the gain, because I was extremely negative, and you will say, okay, I will never use AI anymore. Wait a sec. Let's talk about the gain, okay? Talk about the intelligence OSINT cycle, planning a direction. What can generative AI do for us? It can provide relevant site for our research. It can expand our search term. It can help us in create a sock puppet, a fake persona. We will see an example about that. Collection. It can create and help you in writing monitoring script. It can creating you in scripting data even if you are not a programmer. You can do vibe coding. That's pretty amazing. I have a couple of examples of you. Processing and exploitation, translation and transcription. You deploy mass translation and mass transcription to the artificial intelligence. You index them, and then when you identify the evidence, the smoking gun, that's where you call a certifying translator, or you review the transcription, okay? 80% of the work done by the AI, 20% of the work done by human, focusing on reviewing rather than focusing on heavy work. It's kind of the industrial revolution. We move from doing everything manual to use the technology to make a better life, okay? Now with robotics, we are doing the same. We are using robotics to remove the heavy lift on us, and we review the data. We support the robotics. Analysis and production, sentiment analysis, summarization, and more stuff. Dissemination and integration. If you don't have a quality and insurance team, it can do reviewing, rephrasing. It can helping you in doing something. You know what? You can ask ChatGPT. and you can say, hey, dear ChatGPT, how can Gen AI helps in the OSINT cycle for each phase? And ChatGPT even please me and say, oh, this is a really great question. Thank you, ChatGPT. Planning and direction, this is what I can do. Collection, this is what I can do. Processing and exploitation, this is what I can do. Analysis and production, so on, so on, so on, so on. Okay? Now, example, sock puppet creation. Let's see a video. All the video that you will see from now on has been done with this laptop, with a 12 giga GPU video RAM. I'm showing you that it's possible, even with small hardware, to do something. Okay? Here it is. I'm asking to basically search on the web in order to complete and create 10 potential fictitious first and last name for a Japanese in his 30. I need to create a sock puppet persona. I give a prompt. I'm using Gemma 3. I think it's kind of 8 billion parameters, so really small one. Here it is. Fictitious name, Kenji Tanaka, Haruki Sato, Ryo Nakamura. I don't know if they are fictitious name. You should validate that, okay? These are username selected from Tenji Kanaka. I love Tenji Kanaka because I said, okay, do that. Then suggest me some username and optimization. This is where the username should be. Give me a profile crafting. Okay, Kenji Tanaka, date of birth 1993, 15 of March. Place of birth Kyoto. Then something like he worked at he studied at the Tokyo University Department of Engineering. Does it exist? I need to check. But I'm validating. I'm not doing the heavy lifting. And here I ask also, provide me some JSON potential tweet that I can use. Pretty awesome. In less than 2 minutes, I have something that it would have taken me 2 days of work. Okay. Let's move in something a little bit more complex, okay? Right now, we want to still create a sock puppet, but with an advanced query in which we are targeting a persona profile. So we're asking the AI, act as a persona profiler. Look in that specific website, analyze the website, and craft me a persona that can fit in that group. Why I'm doing that? Because I want to avoid potential block from the artificial intelligence, okay? Here the prompt is a little bit more complex. What was my target? Japanese airline. I also, here I use GPT OS 20 billion parameters that can run in my infrastructure. Here is thinking. And I also enable via model context protocol the fact that it can retrieve data via DuckDuckGo, okay? Here it is. This is the analysis of the website. Okay. And it's creating. GPTOS love to create tables. So the response will be tables unless we say differently. Okay. We're seeing tables. This is still the analysis. This is the persona profile, demographic in between this age. Okay. Description, business traveler. Okay. Perfect. So goals and motivation, that's pretty cool. It's taking minutes on a 2022 laptop. It's taking minutes. This is not like the best of the art laptop available right now, okay? And look at that. How much time we would take for the best analyst in the world to do this? For sure, not 2 minutes, okay? And this is the target campaign. This is what I should do it. Pretty cool. Now, because I want to complicate my life, then after this one, I basically use another prompt and I say, okay, now change context. Now you already done the analysis of the website. You already provide me an idea on what is the best person that fit in that specific organization. Now craft me a persona. Okay, thank you. And here it is crafting a persona. Okay, I also ask to respond with a JSON formatting for potential tweets, posts on different social media. And here it is. GPT, thinking about it, start to provide Taro Yamamoto, okay? This time is different. This is what GPT-OS prefer compared to Gemma. And here it is. It's responding immediately inside a JSON structure file. That's pretty cool if you think about it. Again, we are talking about around 1 minute and 12 seconds. I challenge you to do the same in less than 1 minute and 2 seconds. You won't be able to type so fast. Okay? This is powerful. Okay? Before, to crafting a persona for OSINT purposes was taking 1 week. Now it's taking top 1 day and way more accurate. What about morphing? I have my beautiful persona. Now I need to create a face. I cannot use just specific generative AI that create faces because that are easy to be identified. So what I'm doing morphing. Morphing means that I'm mixing faces of two people. Okay, I could do that on Photoshop, but the result would be really bad because I don't know how to use Facebook, but I know how to use AI. Okay, this is Nico Deckens, course authors of SEC 587, the advanced class, and this is Matt Edmondson, course author of SEC 497, the OSINT class. Perfect. What could be a mix between them? It could be this guy. Okay, this is not detected by AI. And I did it on my local host using Face Fusion in less than 20 seconds on this laptop. Okay, everything fully on-prem. I can even mix a face of a real person with a face of somebody that is not real and having still results that are not detected by AI. What about deepfake? I took this video here is the original video in which this guy over here is interviewing Nico Deckens. This video over here is the same video in which I changed the face of Nico Deckens with the face of Matt Edmondson. Processing time, less than 5 minutes and 14 seconds using another tool still on this laptop. Okay, let's look at that. This is not interesting, the audio, because I didn't do any manipulation on the audio, but as you see, they are sync. Okay, what is important to see, okay, I didn't use a high quality bit rate over here, but you see that it's the same person with a different face. Okay, that's crazy. It is extremely easy to do deepfake, even with a low budget hardware. Now, what about the searching and web scraping? Here, what I ask another software that runs fully on-prem to basically create me a data scraper for sounds.org, okay? A Python script. Here, I use Visual Studio of Microsoft running still with Olama on-prem with another model and say, hey, listen, I have some JSON file that I want you to basically transform in TXT because I'm not able to read the JSON file. Can you do it for me? Can you write a tool that does it for me rather than you doing for me? Oh, yes, I can help you in doing vibe coding. Oh, perfect. Now, what about translation and transcription? This is Whisper on a Gradio interface running basically in a Docker container still in this machine. I have a video. I don't want to watch the video. I just want to read the transcription. Easy. It took 2 minutes. Okay, pretty cool. What can I do more? Well, you remember that that specific JSON files? The JSON files were ransomware chat of the Conti group, okay? But this tool was not able to ingest JSON file, was only able to ingest TXT file. So I asked another AI to generate code to parse JSON file into TXT, so I can add this file and say, hey, analyze this ransomware chat and give me 3 points of the modus operandi of the threat actors and 10 recommendations to deal with ransomware based on the chat. It was so fast, the video, that is already finished, and I didn't speed it up, okay? Now I have the modus operandi of the Conti ransomware group and the 10 recommendations based on chats. That's amazing. Running on-prem, that's cool.
What about object detection? This is a Microsoft Florence 2. It's a model in which can do many things,
including object detection.
What does it mean? It labels the object. The object that has been labeled create a tag. The tag is indexed, and then I can search for tags. Rather than reviewing 1 million of images, I'm just reviewing the images that match my keyword search or my tag search. Pretty easy way to analyze data. What about image prompting?
Okay, on the left side here, we having an image.
We are uploading, and you will see that it will take me more time to find to copy the prompt, theme description object, to basically select
the image than the AI to generate the response. Yes, I'm really slow.
Okay, here it is. I ask what is the theme, and then the AI with vision computing is telling me that this is a cityscape at sunset, a river with boats and buildings, along other stuff.
All of this can be indexed in your tool. Really cool.
What about this one? Same prompt. This might be a reproduction of the Magna Carta, English that I'm not able to understand. The AI can tell me, hey, this is an unwritten text in old-fashioned cursive script, whatever. These are still small model running on a small GPU. If I would use a better model, I would have better results.
Okay. Now, advanced OCR,
image AI OCR. This is a receipt, including some
handwritten note
in a character that is not English.
What is going to happen if I'm putting that to an OCR, optical character recognition, is a mess up.
Line put somewhere, this one not recognized, this one not recognized.
What happens if I ask an AI to do that?
I ask the AI to do that, and also
I ask the AI, and as I said, I'm slower than uploading and copying the prompt rather than the AI working. This is taking a little bit longer, but the AI, I ask also to respond me in a markdown format because I want to keep the structure. And here it is. Look at this. The AI also capture handwriting. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Okay.
What about wisdom? What about agentic AI? Sometimes I'm really lazy, okay? Especially when there is
nice video of people, and this is one of my colleagues, another science instructor,
really amazing.
But I don't have 1 hour to waste, sorry. But I really think that finding threat actor infrastructure with SSL
certificate, it's really powerful. So what do? I ask an AI to go on YouTube, download the video, do the transcription, and then extract the wisdom. I did agentic AI. I can do everything like that fully on-prem, okay? Using the Fabric framework, okay? And this is what I'm doing.
I'm saying, hey, Fabric extract the wisdom from this YouTube thing. Okay, here it is. Okay. For sure, it's less than an hour of video.
That's really interesting. Let me watch the video.
Okay.
Now, semantic searches. I am a Japanese analyst. I have a data set in English. I don't speak English, okay?
And I'm in difficulties in translating Japanese word and finding the related translation or the meaningful translation. So this is the concept that I want to search.
That I don't tell me to pronounce because it will be really bad.
But what I want to ask is, I had my job and I need more money.
It's a fraud investigation, internal investigation, okay? So what can I do? This is using the software of the company where I work for,
Nuix. I'm using a semantic index. So what we did a semantic index or the entire data set that it was in English. And here we are looking for,
let me stop the video so you can see. We are looking for the semantic representation of these Japanese queries match with an English data set. And this is not generative AI. This is cognitive AI, semantic AI. I got a score, okay? A resemblance, 91% of resemblancy.
I'm going and read the test. Of course, if I don't speak Japanese, I will need a translation. But I can see that, yes, I have crazy bills and I need to get out of this job. Semantically speaking, it's extremely similar to I hate my job and I need more money. With keywords, I would never match it. Not knowing the language, I will never match it. This is the application in commercial solution of artificial intelligence. This is extremely, extremely powerful. And as you can see, I can do, oh no, this is the same thing. Sorry about that, the video. As you can see, also looking for other results with a less accuracy, I can still read that there is a theme about somebody being unhappy in the company because he needs more money. He has some pressure, okay? A fraud pressure. That's why he committed the fraud, and that in this situation was data exfiltration, okay? Last but not least, rephrasing, identification of biases, and summary, okay? Let's suppose that I finish my report. I don't have a quality and insurance team, and I want somebody that objectively provide me a response. I'm still in this case, I'm using Llama 3.2, a little bit outdated, on-prem, and I ask, hey, Llama, there is an amazing article about Bellingcat, a Dutch journalist OSINT company, okay? Supposing that this will be my report, here it is, the report, please try to identify any biases. Oh, I can see selective presentation, lack of opposing views, neutral tone, assuming Israeli perspective. This was an article about Gaza. And I said, okay, well, if you identify these biases, give me some sources or give me some suggestion on how I can improve my report. I'm doing everything live in my on-prem environment with a small model. This is powerful. This is really, and I can continue up to tomorrow, but I don't want to bother anymore, okay? So, closing up and going to the Q&A. If you're interested in doing open source intelligence, we provide 2 classes in which there is a lot of AI example, okay? The class that I teach is SEC 497, Practical Open Source Intelligence. After this one, with the GOSI certification, that's a GX certification, we have the Advanced Open Source Intelligence that last month gathered the GSOA, okay? The GSOA is the GX Strategic OSINT Analyst, an advanced certification. So if you're interested in improving and training your skill both in OSINT and AI, this could be the proper training for yourself, okay? If you want to contribute in my house restructuring, you can scan this QR code and found some cryptocurrency. I'm just joking. If you scan this QR code, you will get the sans version of the OSINT poster, this poster over here. Okay, you can scan it, and I will install some crypto miner, but that's another story. And what's coming next is that we are upcoming events. As you can see, we have an event in January with 6 courses that's only live online, so not in person. We have something in March in person and live online, like this one, and so on. I will distribute, and Sans will distribute this slide, so you will know. Now, before I finish the class, is there any question? Did you enjoy the presentation? Okay. Okay. So I don't see, is any online question from the online attendees? Yeah, we have a question. Okay, the question was what brand of this laptop? Okay, these are both Asus, okay, from Taiwan, still independent country. We don't know if it will be continue to be independent. We hope so. This doesn't have a GPU, so for AI, it's really terrible, but has double screen and then for presentation is amazing. This is powerful because it has a GPU, but if they attach the power, it will die in 5 minutes, okay? These are both, this is Zephyrus, and this is, I think, Dual Book or something like that, Asus, okay? but you can find many good brands. Also, Apple with the new silicon is providing and is integrating the basically specific graphic card or specific processor for AI. What would you recommend using to run AI locally? So the question is, which type of recommendation I have for run AI locally? Well, it really depends by your needs. In the way that, for sure, if you have only one person, you can use Olama. That is pretty easy to be installed. But if you already are in an environment in which you need more than one user, more than one model, Olama really not perform good. So at that point, I will suggest VLLM. Recently, 2 days ago, Docker updated the last version of Docker Desktop and integrated VLM deployment, meaning that it's easier to deploy that. In terms of models, it's way more complicated because you should think about having not just one model, but multiple models. Coding model are specifically for coding. Multimodal models that can input an image, so they start with V, they might be used for image prompting, not for generic prompting. You might need a thinking model for something that is complex, that requires thinking, okay? But the best model, it's also the model that fit in your infrastructure. So if you have a small GPU, you should also think about what does it run in my GPU. I might want to have this amazing model, but I need 120 gigabytes of GPU. Do I have 5K to invest? I don't know. It really depends. I hope I answer your question. Okay, so if there are no additional questions, considering that we are still in 1 minute delay, so it should be okay. These are the references, so you will find the references of what I mentioned in the course. And gosetsu, arigato, gozimashita. I'm sorry for my pronunciation, but thank you so much for participating. It really means a lot to Sansa for you participating in this event. Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon at the next training event.